Welcome to RAIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network with your hostess, Jen Josie. Join like-minded real estate investors and accelerate your business towards greatness. You will hear step-by-step strategies for success, interviews with real estate rock stars, and we will dig deep into past projects where we bear it all, including the good, the bad, and some just plain ugly. So get excited. Here's the bestower of badassery herself, the real Jen Josie. Listener discretion is advised.
Hi, and welcome back. I'm Jen Josie, creator of RAIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network. Whoop, whoop. On today's episode, we have a guest that will be sharing their badassery. But before we begin, here's today's badassery bestowment, my little badass gift to you. Today's topic is stop prepaying contractors. As a real estate investor, it's crucial to understand the risks associated with prepaying contractors. Here are 5 key points to consider. Number 1, maintain leverage. Paying a contractor in full before the job is completed can diminish your leverage if issues arise. Partial payments based on completed milestones ensure that your contractor remains motivated to complete the project to your satisfaction. Number 2, assess work quality. By not prepaying, you have the opportunity to assess the quality of the work as it progresses. This approach allows you to address any concerns or discrepancies immediately, ensuring the work meets your standards. Number 3, manage cash flow. Effective cash flow management is vital in real estate investing. Paying only for completed work helps maintain a healthy cash flow, allowing you to manage other expenses or unforeseen costs effectively. Number 4, build trust and accountability. A staggered payment schedule can help build an accountable relationship with your contractor. It shows that you value their work while also holding them responsible for meeting agreed upon standards and deadlines. Number 5, avoid financial loss. In case a contractor fails to deliver as promised, because that never happens, not having prepaid protects you from significant financial loss. It's easier to switch contractors or take corrective action without the burden of recovering a large upfront payment. So remember, every investment decision should be made with due diligence and a clear understanding of the risks involved. Avoiding prepaying contractors is a prudent strategy to protect your investment and ensure successful project completion. Now, on to today's episode of the Real Estate Investor Growth Network podcast. We have with us Jim Manning. In real estate, Jim likes to focus on passive income, which has allowed him to own 3 multi-million-dollar real estate companies, work a balanced schedule, and most importantly, parent 4 kids under the age of 9. Along the way, he discovered that he also has a knack for creating financial freedom for others. One of my favorite quotes from Jim is, "Retirement isn't a nest egg problem, it's a cash flow problem." He's now on a mission to show others how to generate passive income from real estate without doing any of the work. I'm excited to have him on the show, so welcome Jim Manning. How are you? Welcome.
I am doing better now that we connected. Happy to be here, Jen.
Yeah, we had a little snafu with our schedule earlier today, but it worked out perfect. I got a little nap. I'm all refreshed and we're ready to rock and roll. So you sent me this amazing bio, and in there you talk about this billionaire that you worked for. Can you tell us about working with this? I mean, he's got to be like the happiest person on the planet. So what was it like working with this billionaire?
Yeah. So, I mean, he was really impressive. Like, and I was 22, just out of college, and he had a gorgeous girlfriend. He had, had his own private jet. He had thousands and thousands of bottles of wine and champagne. And at one point I was carrying a couple $100,000 in wine.
Oh my gosh.
And he had thousands of these bottles. So he had like literally everything materialistically you could imagine. And as a 22-year-old fresh out of college, the biggest mistake I made was I was still in like chugging mode. And some of these $1,000 bottles of champagne, I was chugging as if I was at a frat party. And I didn't like enjoy it. And in hindsight, I was like, this was about 20 years ago, almost 20 years ago now. And so that was a mistake that I made. But it was fascinating getting that experience of what the pinnacle of business success can do, and when you achieve that, because this was a self-made billionaire. He built his company from the ground up.
But in your bio, you talk about how miserable this guy was.
Yeah. Okay. So that's the first part. That's right. So then then as I got to know him, he invited me to dinner with his family, and I was like, whoa, what an honor. Like, here's this guy like that I really respect that's doing amazing things. And I get there, and within 5 minutes, I realized that the help's there because his wife and his daughters absolutely hate him and can't stand to be in the same room with him.
So he had a wife and daughter, and yet he had girlfriends, pretty girlfriends that you're talking about.
Yes, he did. Yeah. So I don't know if I knew about the wife at the time, in the first week of getting to know him. But then, as the onion peeled back, what I realized was on the surface level, some of the things that maybe as a 22-year-old that I thought I wanted, as the onion got peeled back and I got to know him, I realized that this guy was absolutely miserable. He wasn't happy at all. Turned out a few years later, I heard that his girlfriend just took him for a bunch of money, ended up leaving him, and he just was not a happy individual. And what a lesson for me to be able to learn that life's about more than just achieving the material and business success, right? That there is a cost to success, and really we should measure our success by what we gave up to get it. And so on one hand, it was a blessing because I saw, okay, if I get really good, this is America. If I get really good, I can achieve some great things, and I can find great financial wealth, because he was a guy just like me that I could do that. And on the other hand, it was like such a perspective to be able to say, okay, well, I can go after big goals, but I'm not going to go after it at the cost of family and some of the relationships and some of the friendships that I've had all along the way. So that's what really ended up being my goal when I got into real estate was, how do I have my cake and eat it too, so to speak? How do I achieve great things and still keep the big things, and keep my focus on my relationships at the same time.
And you discovered this with passive income coming from real estate. And there is a big difference between active income and passive income. So can you start first and tell us the difference between the two?
Yeah. So active income is just anything that you're doing for your day job. If you're a doctor, you might be doing a surgery, right? If you're in corporate America, you're punching the clock 9 to 5. If you're a real estate investor, active income would be wholesaling real estate, buying and selling it in the same day, or flipping real estate, buying it, fixing up, and then reselling it. So when I got into real estate investing, I started out as an active investor because I didn't have any money to invest to give me a return. I didn't have the financial ability to buy and hold on to real estate. And so our first main thing was that we grew our active income up to, I think we had 120 flips going at the same time was our record back in 2017. Gosh, this makes me feel old, but yeah. So we had all these active deals going, but one of the things that was interesting is because we were able to make some income and then buy and hold on to real estate. And then as these deals that we had sold in 2010, 2011, 2012 started getting resold again for a crazy amount more than what we had initially sold it for.
Right.
We got a little bit sick of that, of the turn. We were like, wait a second, why are we working so hard doing all of this activity and doing all this action and not building our passive income up as much as we really should? And so that's where we, started transitioning into more of a buy and hold long-term strategy. And the other interesting part about it, though, is Jen, do you have any rentals yourself?
I do, yes.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's very passive.
Yes.
I'm still very active with it.
That's right. So a lot of times, that's one of the things that I think we make a mistake when it comes to and the investing world. We talk about real estate's the best passive income vehicle that you possibly can do. Well, yes and no. Like, it's really more of a recurring revenue model where you're buying something that then you can make money off of over and over again, but there's still active management.
Right.
You have to find the tenant. You have to screen the tenant. If something breaks, you have to get the contractor out there, or you have to hire a project or property manager and then manage them.
Right.
And they ultimately need your approval on stuff too, right?
Yep.
So it's really, real estate is not a fully passive income. It'd be better if people called it a recurring revenue business model. And you can, at the same time, make it passive, and you can make it passive if someone else is doing all the work. So if I decided to go to Jen and I said, hey, here's $100,000. Do you want to buy a rental property together? You don't need to pay anything for the deal, but I need you to do 100% of the work. There's structures like that you can make it a true passive investment.
As I was in our break between waiting on you before and then this, I was actively reaching out to my Airbnb guests because one of our units doesn't have an oven. And I was like, oh shit, like Thanksgiving just snuck up on me. I'm like, let me just make sure that they realize we don't have an oven. So I don't want them bringing some big frozen turkey with them. But it truly is not and I'm a control freak. We talked about this as we were chatting before, and it's so hard sometimes to let go. But when you get the right people in place, it does make such a huge difference. But I'm not ready just yet to, we have a 12 unit in Southern Virginia. And yes, we have a management company and they are good, but you are so right. You still have to manage your management company and making, just double checking that they're doing everything properly. So that is very true. But what are some techniques? I know you mentioned the one by partnering with someone saying, I'll do 100% of the funding, but you do 100% of the work. What are some other ways to do completely passive, growing your income in real estate?
Yeah. So there's real estate funds out there. And a lot of times you need to be an accredited investor, which means that you have $1 million net worth or you're making over $200,000 a year as a single person. And
like 300,000 if you're a couple.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. 300,000 if you're a couple. It's not like an accredited investor doesn't mean you're like past some test or anything like that. It's just solely what your net worth is and your income level. And then what you can do is you can find these real estate fund structures where a team is executing on an investment strategy, and you can invest into the fund or and
this is
pool
like
your
syndication?
money with other investors.
Is this syndication?
It's similar to syndication. Okay. The difference with syndication and real estate funds, or syndication may be one deal, where like if there's a big apartment complex and there's 15 investors that want to invest into it, you would do a syndication and it would just be one piece of real estate that's in the entity. Okay. Whereas a real estate fund, you may have 100 pieces of real estate in the entity, but it's the same group of investors.
Nice.
So if you have a syndicator that has multiple syndication deals, well, the investor pool could be completely different from syndication to syndication.
Got it.
Yeah.
So how is passive income more important? This is in your notes, by the way. So I'm reading this off your notes. Why is passive income more important than total net worth?
Yeah. So when we retire, we go through a market shift, don't we? Like we're used to having income.
Yes.
And then now we don't have it anymore. So if I have $1 million in the stock market and I need to start taking out $100,000 a year, well, that's about 10 years worth of a nest egg, right?
This is your nest egg comment because I was like, ooh, I love that. Yes.
That's right.
It's not it's a huge nest egg problem. It's not, what is it? It's not a it's a cash flow problem. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
retirement
right.
Isn't a nest egg problem. Sorry, I'm messing this all up.
No,
it's a cash flow problem.
So
now it's all tying in here. So keep going.
That's
Why
right.
is your net worth more important?
Yeah. So the net worth creates a situation where like, how much do you need? Do you need $1 million to live? Do you need 2 million? Do you need 10 million? Well, how long are you going to live? it creates a whole lot of uncertainty. I sat down with a self-made millionaire a few weeks ago, and he confided in me. He's like, Jim, I'm afraid I might run out of money before I die. And I'm like, well, you're a self-made millionaire. Are you sure? I'm 39 going on 40 years old, and I'm not, I'm good. And the reason I'm good is because I have cash flow coming in from real estate, right? So the only reason we work is for income to come in, because we have monthly expenses that come in. So if you get into a situation where you're just trying to stockpile and get your net worth as high as possible, well, all that is at the end of the day is a promise. So Blockbuster got up to a $5.9 billion valuation. And if you owned a bunch of Blockbuster stock before its peak, you're really feeling really good about it because the company blew up, right? It got up to 9,000 locations. Well, if you have a lot of stock in Blockbuster, there's a promise of a value there. So when you're ready to sell it, the idea is, well, someone else has to be willing to buy it. So then fast forward from its peak of a $5 billion valuation, just 10 years later, it ended up not being worth anything. The company obviously went bankrupt because of the Netflix and the market shift that had happened, right? So the nice thing with real estate is when you have cash flow coming in, that's actual profits that you're getting. And yes, there's a future valuation. There's a promise of what the value of the real estate is. It could be worth a couple $1 million, right? But if a market shift happens, you're still cash flowing that real estate, making profits, and you don't have to sell it right away because you can just live off of the profits and wait for a better time to sell it. So
true.
Yeah.
And but there is so much fear right now because of the market that, and with the economy and everything, people are a little shy about investing their money right now in real estate. So do you have any reason why people should not be investing in real estate right now?
So it depends on what market you're in. There are some markets like commercial office space is pretty tough. Like apartment complexes, depending on when you invested, might be tough. Like I would be okay personally with investing in them now, but like let's say you was 3 years ago or 5 years ago and you invested in it at a 3% mortgage rate, and now the mortgage rates are coming out at 7 and 8% when you're looking to sell it. There's potentially some issues there on having a profitable deal. So I think the exit strategy at the end of the day is a really important thing. If you're buying and holding on to real estate, you don't have to time the market and be perfect with, like another 2006 is going to happen. So like I have to be worried about that. Well, if your exit strategy is 30 years from now, it kind of doesn't matter. Like you're de-risking this by quite a bit, right? What do you say to that, Jen? Like when you hear people afraid of investing into real estate?
Thank you for asking me a question, Jim. I never get asked questions on my own podcast. I love this. But, we were talking about it this weekend. I was attending a couple events down in Florida, and there are certain things that are kind of going on the way out. And Airbnb, we're just talking about Airbnb. Airbnb, a part of Airbnb could be disappearing. So there's a whole legislation of people, of towns and cities wanting to outlaw it because it's like Outer Banks of North Carolina, for example. They've been fighting it because so many of the landlords out there say, I can make 3 times as much if I short-term rent this as opposed to doing long-term rentals. And so the people that live and work out there can't find rentals for themselves. But for me personally, I still invest in the vacation rentals, the destination ones. I owned a quad in downtown Raleigh that was this gorgeous building, and it just started dying down because areas are getting saturated. There are, so many out there, and plus the hosts are doing this to themselves. They're demanding that people start their own laundry, that they do this. They are taking out the garbage. They have to clean it up and down and still pay a $250 cleaning fee. And for what, So some of them are doing it to themselves. But again, those vacation ones have never slowed down. I'm still full force for that. And then on the flip side, I'm also looking for more small multifamily because of the market right now. People aren't really wanting to buy because they think, I'll wait till the interest rates come down. So they're going to rent. Or I'm also looking for condos and townhomes. I used to flip the hell out of condos and townhomes. I loved it. And so people may need to park their money somewhere. And so they'll get a condo or townhome before investing in their forever home in hopes that, and plus inventory is so low right now, et cetera. But right now, and as you were saying, apartments, all multifamily, I feel are, buy and holds, rentals is what we should be investing in right now, just because of the times. And real estate is cyclical. So if you're listening to this, 5 years down the road, pay attention to what's going on now. But this is what currently in November of 2023 is what I'm seeing. So your thoughts on everything that I just spewed out. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think it's spot on. And I think it's it's dangerous, guys, if you're reading articles. Like I was just looking at an article that had, it's really clickbait, guys. Hey, real estate's the worst time to buy right now. You need to rent. And this was on the Wall Street Journal. This is an article I saw the other day.
And I didn't even read that. And I still said it.
That couldn't be
right.
Yeah. It's not accurate, because real estate is it's so local. It's so dependent on what your strategy is, and you just can't make blanketed statements like that. So for example, you said, hey, Jim, how is commercial real estate right now? And I would say, well, it depends. In some areas, it's like catching a falling knife. You have no idea what the market's resetting to. But if you own a Class A building that has maybe 1,000 to 5,000 square foot units, those are probably going to be pretty strong going forward.
Right.
And commercial office space, by the way, because of COVID and interest rates, is a perfect storm for a bloodbath in that market, right?
Mm-hmm.
But a blanket statement like that's not necessarily accurate, because what's happening is bigger tenant units. Like let's say you had a 20,000 square foot floor print, and now you're only needing 10,000 square feet. Well, okay, these bigger companies are saying, okay, well, I'm going to downsize to 10,000 into a Class A. We're going to try and find better amenities for roughly the same price, or maybe save a little bit of money. So like those buildings that they're downsizing to are still likely to be really hot and really strong investments. But if you're the building that has a 40,000 square foot tenant and it's just a single tenant in the whole building, it's probably going to be really tough. So just in the same, one blanketed article, one blanketed statement is going to be inaccurate, and is going to be them trying to play on your emotions to get your eyeballs and get your attention, more so than being like an actual sound investment strategy. So you have to be careful.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Very well said.
Yeah.
So talking about passive and active income, we're going to get back into this for a second here, but how you have a mission now to show others how to generate passive income. So how do you do that? How would you break me from being so active and then just focused on the passive?
I really think the first step's just getting clarity around it. And I actually have a free course that's a step-by-step. It's called Passive Profits, a step-by-step guide to your first real estate fund investment. And the first thing that I recommend people do is go through a clarity finder. And I have it in the course. It's 100% free, guys. It's, this isn't me trying to make $500 on a course or whatever. I could care less about that. But it's getting clarity around whether you should be an active investor or a passive investor. So for myself, this interesting thing is I'm an active investor. I started out as an active investor. I've built a company, and we built, we own multiple real estate funds now, and we're actively managing all of it. And we're creating opportunities for passive investors to plug in and be able to invest with our team. So for me, the answer is actually to be an active investor. So if you go through the clarity, the clarity finder, and you think through it, active investors for me. So Jen, for you, likely, now we could spend 5 minutes talking about it and doing some Q&A, but it's very likely that you should stay an active investor. But that's also, I've been doing this for over 15 years. I'm full time. We've built up a team, and we have over 25 people on our team, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. for someone else that's in a different situation, maybe you're a doctor or maybe you're a small business owner or an attorney, something like that, where you've spent an entire career, 10 plus years, developing a skill set to make a really high income. You're better off just putting in a little overtime in your current job and not trying to start a whole new business and figuring out, okay, well, how do I find a deal and do all of that? So it's a little bit of like, how much time do you have? It's a little bit of, okay, let's get an awareness over what skills you have. Do you know how to negotiate with contractors, and do you know how to vet them right and find the right ones? Do you have the time to do it?
And just don't prepay them.
That's right. Oh, that's right. Don't prepay them. Oh my goodness. It's funny how simple that advice is, Jen, and I can attest to it. Like that little bit she did at the beginning of this is so important.
Oh my gosh.
And so many of you listening are going to mess that up.
Yes.
I've messed it up on deals. People will continue to mess it up because these contractors will come in with like these sob stories and this or that. And then I'm very lucky. I can be very nice and caring. So I have some team members that I'm like, okay, you need to talk to Ryan, my co-founder, for example. We can kind of do good cop, bad cop a little bit. So like I know how to like counteract that a little bit, but that is one of the easiest things in the world to do, and it's to mess up,
right?
And it's incredibly important.
It's the quickest way to lose some money.
Skill.
Yeah,
it is. Yeah, I mean, you make money when you buy right, and and even if you buy right, you can lose all of that with not managing the project right, not managing the repairs right.
Yes.
Absolutely. So for you, Jen, I mean, active or not, I mean, do you love doing what you're doing?
I do. I love the whole hospitality thing that comes with short-term rentals. I love providing a safe place for people to live, a safe, affordable place for people to live. I have built like a second family with our contractors, the ones who I don't have to prepay. And, they're fantastic. We do our cervezas on Friday at 5. So they love it when the honey with the money shows up to the project with also some Modelo's. Only when they're done contracting, yes. But
so you love what you're doing.
I do.
You're good at it, obviously, right? So, I mean, there's really no need to do it while you're still loving it. Now, Here's the deal. Where an active investor can turn into a passive investor is if we had a conversation and you're like, hey, you know what? Here's the deal. I have 20 vacation rentals. I'm at a perfect lifestyle. I absolutely love it. The thought of getting 21, though, it makes me want to throw up a little bit.
Yes, I'm getting there.
So when you get to a point where it's like, okay, this is no longer my sweet spot, but I have excess profits that I still need to invest, I still want to grow my net worth, that's when the active can turn into a passive. We do have active investors that are also investing passively with us, but it typically comes in when they are starting to max out on, okay, I'm working as hard as I want to or I care to, and I still would love some additional passive income, at the same time.
So a perfect fit for just 100% passive and investing in, say, a fund or a syndication, but or for you, we're going to stick with funds.
Yeah, is
someone who maybe fell into some money that can they? But would that make them accredited though?
Yeah, as long as you have $1 million net worth outside of your personal residence, the income level does not matter. Or you have the income coming in as well at the 200,000 or more. Yep.
Yeah, one of our favorite private money lenders she's like, Jen, I love following you on social media and I see everything that you're doing. How did you get involved with real estate? And I told her the education program I did. She actually paid and did that education program and realized she did not want to get her nails dirty. So like that first scenario where you're saying someone funds 100%, but then the other person does 100% of the work. We have a very similar situation like that. And she also got that education, so she knows what to check in with us, etc. I would not recommend that for every listener to give 100% of money and trust someone that you don't really know who is vetted. We keep using that word vetted, et cetera. So, or just putting in a fund. How would one research a fund to make sure it's a good fit for them?
Yeah, so the SEC really requires that you get into a relationship with fund managers. So you really need to sit down and have like a quick little 30-minute call, get to know each other. And then there's typically like it's called a pitch deck or like a PowerPoint presentation.
Okay.
There's typically a presentation and you go through and go through the different strategies. And then it's, like developing a passive investor skill set is a little bit different. Like you do need to start to be aware of, okay, how do I assess what the risk is compared to other opportunities? How do I find the opportunities? There's a fair amount that goes into it. But I think that the difference is the philosophy of, okay, I know I don't want to do the work. Okay, let me develop the skills around finding someone that will do it for me. It's kind of the same thing on flips. Like if you're not handy, you need to develop the skill set to find the contractor and manage the contractor, right? Well, it's a similar way to invest. It's just not a lot of people are even aware it's a thing,
right?
And the shame of the matter is financial advisors even call real estate funds alternative investments, and I find it a funny word, alternative, because real estate is in my opinion, the best investment vehicle you can possibly make for retirement. It's one of the most essentials. If you talk to high net worth financial advisors, they'll say 20 to 30% of people's net worth should be in real estate. Personally, what works for me is 90% of my net worth.
I'm so right there with you, Jim.
You have to figure out your own threshold. I'm a huge real estate guy, and that's what's worked for me, right? That's what's allowed me to have passive income that I could retire before I'm 40, right? But so you have to kind of just figure that out and figure out what works for you. But these financial advisors call it alternative. And well, why would they do that? Well, financial advisors make money if you have $1 million in their umbrella, they make fees off your $1 million. Okay. And there's RIAs, there's different structures that they have. Some will make a commission if you buy a certain product. Others will just make money, a percentage of what's invested with them. So they view these fund structures typically as alternatives, and a lot of them view them as competition. Well, if you go and you put $400,000 into this real estate fund, well, now instead of having $1 million with me that I'm getting a fee off of, I'm only getting a fee off $600,000.
Got it.
And so then this paradigm comes on like, oh, well, this is something alternative. Oh, you should stay away from it. And like, what have historically we done? Like, oh, it's a financial decision. I've hired this financial advisor, so I need to call them and get the advice on things. Well, it's awfully hard for anyone, me included, if I was a financial advisor, to be a true fiduciary if it means that I'm going to make less money on a certain strategy that's brought to me. Like some can do it, and some can give good solid advice and put the client first. But most can't. Most will be thinking about themselves and oh, this strategy is risky. Well, is it risky though? Is it risky to buy and hold on to real estate?
And I'm hearing everything you're saying, Jim, and everything makes sense. And all I can say to that is more investment opportunities for us, the people who are going out and getting educated and, staying away from the stock market. I don't have anything in the stock market right now just because it's up and down and up and down. And I want to be in control of my financial future. And for me, it's 100% real estate. But in that space, I am still diversified. And I think that's huge right here. So this was amazing. Can you, before we move on to the second part, can you tell us about your 3 multi-million-dollar real estate companies? Let's hear about these 3 companies.
Okay, cool. So, so I founded 3 Doors, was the first one we did. And, the 3 multi-million, if I can do like a little tangent here, this is my ADD coming at you guys, just bear with me. It's been 3, but it's a 15 plus year journey to have 3 companies. The first company we did, 3 Doors, was founded. It ended up rebranding. STL Real Estate was the original name of it. But we did short sale deals for the first couple of years, and then we did property flips for like the next 5. So yeah, we have these 3 multi-million-dollar companies, but we didn't like bill them all out at the same time. Like we started with 1, guys. So if you're an entrepreneur trying to figure out things like Amazon was a bookstore for a couple of years before it even, and then it went into like music CDs for a couple of years. Like, yeah, it's doing all this stuff now, but it's only doing it because it's had a couple decades of work and it's done things at a time. So the first one was 3 Doors. That's our acquisition company. That's how we bought.
Where's that name come from?
Several thousand deals what's up?
Where's that name come from? 3 Doors.
Yeah. So the way we do it is client first is one of our core values. And we didn't like the thought of going to a homeowner and just saying, hey, here's our buy now price, here's our cash offer, and then leaving someone hanging, because not everybody is not everybody's biggest win is an investment offer. And so we want to provide more doors or open up more opportunities for our clients because of that. So the approach we like to do is, hey, we can buy it for cash at this price. If you want to work with a realtor, we have some realtor partners that can list the property for you. We think you'll get $300,000 or whatever it is for the property. And then we also offer creative financing and owner financing structures as well at an advanced level. Like one of our clients made over $30,000 after she sold her house to us last year. So,
nice.
So that was why the name really represents our value proposition to our people. And then another company is named Homeways. And what Homeways does is it opens up the way to home ownership for deserving families. And that's a part of our lease purchase strategy. So we have a real estate fund that funds these deals, but it's like a good example of it is there's people that are small business owners that can afford a house that for whatever reason a lender just doesn't think that they're quite the fit. Or one of our first clients for Homeways was a teacher. And she was in a divorce situation. So she gets divorced from her ex-husband, and her ex-husband was so controlling, she wasn't allowed to open up a credit card. And without a credit card, she had no credit score. And without a credit score, she has no ability it's hard for her to even rent a house, much less buy a house. And we get in front of her, we said, well, that situation's in the past. You're not in that toxic relationship anymore. You're a teacher, you're making really good money. You can afford this starter home. Why don't you be a homeowner rather than wait 10 years to get into home ownership? So that's been really rewarding for us from a community standpoint, being able to help people out. And then the third entity that we have is CFL Lending. And it's a hard money lending company here in St. Louis.
Nice.
That lends money to investors so that they can flip houses.
Do you lend in rural areas?
So right now we're just kind of in St. Louis and the metropolitan area. We do have a couple deals out of state that a team member's dad or some sort of like relationship like that. But then those are the vehicles that then allow the real estate funds that they put together the deals so that the real estate funds and our passive investors have opportunities to invest in. So there's yeah.
I didn't mean to put you on the spot there.
No, you're good.
I have people who really struggle that are in rural areas that can't find lenders. So I'm always on the lookout for them. So, but everything that you're saying, and I love the Homeways. How do you spell that?
Home, HOMEWAYS.
Okay. I wasn't sure if it was like a WAZ
no, not a
or something.
Okay. Yeah. Not like Waze, the car app. Yeah.
And I just think that's so amazing because real estate investors, we get a bad rep, of like money hungry people trying, giving us low ball offers and all this stuff. And there's so much opportunity out there and, they don't realize it, but sometimes we do wear a superhero's cape and Jim, I'm very impressed, and I definitely can see that cape waving behind you there. So, all right, we are moving on to the second, the second part of the podcast here, which is what makes Jim Manning a badass. And I use the acronym BADASS, and the first letter is B for book. What's a book that's made a huge difference in your life?
Oh man, now I feel like you asked me these questions and now I'm like, oh, what did I put in there? Am I going to say a different thing?
You said Pumpkin Plan, and I have never heard of this book. What is Pumpkin Plan?
All right. So Pumpkin Plan, Michael, I can't say his last name. He's a guy who wrote Profit First as well. Michalowicz. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's not so bad. It's
spelled jacked up
when you look at it though.
Yes.
Michalowicz. So what the concept of that book is it's and actually like when I explained the 3 companies that we have and we built, I said, hey, it was one at a time. That's a really good segue into that book because it talks about as entrepreneurs, we try and go in 20 different directions and we try and do all of these things. And then all of them kind of suck if we're trying to do too many things at the same time.
You're so polite.
And, you know what? I figured with the badassery, like I could cuss.
You didn't know what you're getting into.
I don't need to like cuss, but like I could at least, use the word suck. But I never quite know who the audience is, but anyway, they all can, and part of the reason why, like, if you're doing all this, think about like a pumpkin patch. And if your resources are getting divided in equally, well, like you can grow some small pumpkins, but it's not necessarily like all your resources pouring into like one pumpkin to make the pumpkin gigantic, right? So if you look at our business model and it's, even though it's 3 different entities and then it's 2 different real estate funds, so technically 5 companies, they are all centered around how do we create financial freedom? How do we help people build passive income? So and we need the entities to all grow one big giant pumpkin because they're all helping us within that same mission. So it's the same mission of how we're trying to help people. And so even though it's 5 different entities, like I would put them all within the same pumpkin. Okay. Nice. Versus someone that, I'm going to own a staging company. And then I'm going to be a realtor, and
construction company.
I'm going to start my own construction company, and you're trying to do all of these things, and like there's maybe some overlap, but then the synergy doesn't quite get there, and that's just kind of a hot mess. And there's a little analogy that I'm reminded of. Bill Gates and some of his billionaire friends were all sitting around a table. And the person comes up and says, hey, what's the secret to success? And all of them unanimously, I can't talk
unanimously.
Right now. Thank you, Jen. You knew what I was going for. They all said focus at the same time was the most important thing.
Interesting.
And it makes a lot of sense, right? If you can just focus and get world-class at one thing. And if you want to get world-class at the second thing, that's great, but get world-class at the first thing first. And, that book goes into that. It's a really good book.
I'm going to have to check that one out. That sounds great.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with Profit First for Real Estate Investing by David Richter?
I am. Yep.
So he's a friend of mine, and I was actually with him down in Florida I snuck him out to speak at this event I was at, but I am a huge believer in that whole system of Profit First. I'm sorry, I'm putting a plug in here for David, but I do it because it's made such a huge difference in my life and having gone through that book and then joined his program, etc. So thank you for sharing that.
I know David as well.
Yes.
He's a very nice guy.
Great guy. Super, super nice. Very polite, like you, Jim. All right. The first A in badass is for advice.
Jen may not air this episode. Man, that Jim guy, he got nervous by saying the word suck. I don't know if he's a badass enough to be on my podcast.
You are a badass with a superhero's cape. So let's be super clear on that. All right. The first A is for advice. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
What did I say?
You said the word that the guy said, focus on the process, not the results.
That's right. Yeah. And, so oh, this is fun. I hope the listeners are having as much fun as we are right now. So I think, what's interesting is like, yeah, you look at where we're at right now and it's an amazing thing. And it's an amazing time to be in the business that we have and what we've built. If I was focused on the results, we would not have ever gotten there. Because I can't tell you guys, we had some really lean years. We had some years that one year we bought an extra 150 houses. We were used to buying about 150 houses at a time. We bought 300 houses. This might have been 2017, like the year we did the most deals, but everyone, our ops team's like ready to strangle us. We're ready to strangle us because like we're so busy. And we looked at the P&L and we had made less money that year than the year before. And like we really believe in winning or learning. And we were able to sit down and say, okay, well, no, like just because this was the result that we didn't want. Yeah, we get to stroke our ego and say we did all these deals, but the result wasn't as good as it had been in other years. How do we get better? And how do we make improvements? And I mean, that's one little microcosm of a lot of the, like businesses problems and solving them, and its mistakes are inevitably going to happen. And if you keep learning and you keep going, at some point you're going to get really good, So I got really blessed. Like one of my big mentors was my high school baseball coach, and he instilled that. He said, well, you can hit a line drive to the center fielder this guy can just stand there and not even take a step sideways and you can get out. Well, like, are you 0 for 1 at that point? Or are you really 1 for 1? Because really the whole job of hitting is just trying to hit the ball hard.
Right.
Like you can beat yourself up and have it cause you to lose your confidence, or you can just say, hey, I think I'm going to get a lot more hits than compared to getting a blue pit if I just keep focusing on hitting the ball hard. Right. And, and you can't control those results. Sometimes you do everything right and a market and something happens out of your control and you make less money than you wanted to. Right. So,
and I think that's really it. You can control the process. You can't always control the results. And that's huge. So,
yeah.
All right. Great job on that. All right. The D in badass is for drive. What drives you to be successful? And I'm not giving you the answer that you told me because I'm sure you know this. There's 4 of them upstairs. Or I don't know. I'm saying upstairs because I'm in my basement right now. So I'm assuming is your legacy.
You said you weren't going to tell me. No. So it's funny is the why, at the source of it, like why you're doing it, like what is your drive? And my drive has shifted over the years. I've been doing this long enough to have it shift. My 20s, it would have been, building something big and special and like doing a lot of deals and just something like significance, almost just trying to do something like that. And then my drive at one point shifted to, I had an issue where, I had a hardship. I hit my head super hard and had a seizure. I wasn't sure before I got the test. I wasn't sure, like, am I dying or is it just, I fell and hit my head hard. So I had this one-time thing. And, at that point, my girlfriend, now wife at the time, was really supporting me. So then the why became, once I get healthy, I'm going to do everything I can to be able to buy a ring and put a ring on her finger. Right. So
love it.
So that became my drive. And then now we're at a point where, we've already kind of built up the real estate portfolio, and it's and I'm not ready. I'm still hungry. I feel like I'm just getting started at 40. So how do I create something that provides time and treasure for people? For my friend that was afraid of running out of money, that really sparked it, because it was like, well, he's afraid of running out of money. I know there's other people like that too. We already have this badass team set up. why the heck don't we give the blessing of real estate investing to people that maybe aren't equipped or don't have the time to be able to do it for themselves? Why not help others with financial freedom? And so doing that for others and for the community, and being able to have that level of accomplishment so that my 4 kids can see, hey, Dad went after his dreams. He tried to help people along the way, and trying to open up that door or get them to think that way so that they can hopefully do something similar for everybody. So, and if I can accomplish that, I'll feel pretty good about the work legacy, and then I don't know. So I'll figure out a new why once that happens, right? So.
Exactly. And it evolves. And I think that's, well said, because your values do grow and evolve over time. So you have 4 kids. How old are your 4 kids?
9 and under. So 9 to 3. My 2 days ago was my youngest's 3rd birthday.
Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah. He's a bruiser too. Yeah, he's funny.
Well, you definitely have a legacy. So the second A in badass is aspiration. I'm a big goal setter. So what is a goal you are currently working on?
A goal I am currently working on. I have this thing where I like to at least have a hobby where I'm like a newbie at it. I think it's something like keeps you like fresh. And right now, my hobby goal is I want to turn myself into a scratch golfer, and I'm a 15 handicap. And we're not going to talk about before I started taking golf lessons where I was at. So it was not good, but that's been nice because it's been like, I've been like a newbie at this thing, like trying to use some of the success principles that I've learned in other things and apply it to this new thing. And it's really been keeping me fresh. And scratch golfer, I might need another 5 years or so for that.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Golf has never been on my radar. I tried to do the one where, you hit it into the field where they have everyone hitting out of the sand. What is that called? They have one in Vegas. We did the one in Vegas.
Top Golf.
Top Golf.
Yeah.
I'm like, can we go now? I lasted about 5 minutes. I was bored with it, but
really,
yeah, I can't get into golf. Me. I just can't. I don't know what it is. So, all right. The first S in badass is for systems. What systems do you have in place to help you achieve success?
Oh man, this is a hard one. There's a lot.
And you need systems in this industry. Absolutely.
You really do. We have it to where, I'm only working in the 3 core businesses. I'm only doing 1 day a week now. And it's just, so we use it's called EOS. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of that, but basically the problems within an organization kind of float all into a 1 day a week meeting. And so I'm a part of, people will bring problems that we need to strategize around and figure out solutions for. So it's like an ownership and directors level meeting that I do. That takes about a day a week.
Nice.
And then, then the team members, and we have CRM, we have all that other stuff. It's all pretty turnkey now for me at this point.
Probably really hiring the right people to run those things too is a system in itself.
Yeah, I really enjoy it too. So like I don't foresee that changing anytime soon. It's nice to have just to kind of know a little bit of what's going on a high level in them and kind of have my hands on it a little bit. So for me, it's like the perfect, I am involved and I'm not at the same time. But the people is, the people's the most important part because like you can have the best strategy, you can have the best system. And if you pass a player a ball and they just don't catch it and drop it, it really doesn't matter. And so it really starts and stops ultimately with the people. So I don't know. Is there anything like in particular you'd want me
No, that's perfect.
Okay.
There are many systems, and what you said, like, I love the whole once a week, just touching base. I actually do that. It's just my husband and I in our business, and we'll meet Sunday evenings at 5 p.m. And, we've been doing the same thing and tracking our KPIs and doing all that, and even though I share a toothbrush holder with him, we still think it's super important to have that dedicated time to make sure we're both on the same page. That's a huge system, and we use that as well, but not with as many people as you,
Jen,
I'm sure.
I could give some advice on like making systems or what to systematize. Cause like, I think like one of the errors I made when I started out was I thought like everything had to be systematized. And, cause I read E-Myth or whatever, and, a couple things for you guys to wrap your head around is one, like it really needs to happen more than once. Like if something's like a really strange scenario, it's only happened once in the last like 2 years, don't build a system for that. Like see if it comes up again. If it starts to be a recurring thing, okay, great. We need some sort of system to flesh out for that. The other thing is ask yourself like, okay, if someone was just doing their job right and like they were competent, like would this even, is there really a system that's needed for this, or did I just need the right person to do the job right?
Yes.
Like an example of that is a few weeks ago, we had one of our lease purchase deals. It got missed and the marketing didn't start for 2 weeks. And I was talking to our COO and I'm like, well, do we need a system for that? And he said, well, no, because like the person made a mistake. And if they keep making that mistake, they're not going to be able to be on the team anymore because like that's part of like their core job.
And that's their system.
And we have to trust that they can do their basic functions of their job right. And if they can't, well, then we have to find somebody different. So, so that's kind of like some context around that and how we look at it.
That's excellent advice. And I appreciate that. And to wrap up this podcast is the final S in badass is for success. And I'm not giving you an answer. What does success mean to you, Jim?
Success.
Actually, you want to know your answer? It said see above. That is truly what it says. So what does success mean to you, Jim?
So I think it really means being able to achieve the goals that I set out for without giving up the things that are important to me. Like I'm Christian. I believe in God and my relationship with God's important. That and my relationship with my family. So like God, family, work are really priorities for me. And at the end of the day, I want to measure my success by what I gave up to get it. And so it's really, like I want to have my cake and eat it too. I want to be able to say, hey, I created something super special, super valuable for other people. And I don't have I'm not lying on my deathbed, like regretting that my son won't talk to me or my daughter won't talk to me because I was never around. I was this like non-present parent. And I think that's also why it's like really important. Like if you want to invest into real estate and you're really busy with your current job, you have the financial means to, this passive investor stuff is really important because like, if you then start up a new company and you start to buy and you start to ultimately get to financial freedom, maybe you have the skills and the talent and the ability to do it, but at what cost? Like, are you going to give up your family and not have a relationship with your wife to do it? And I think that's a really important thing to think about and to decide what you want your life to be all about. So.
Well, I think that is a great note to end this podcast on because I'm sure there are many listeners out there thinking the same thing and what can they do and how can they get a hold of you if they have questions directly for you?
Absolutely. So passivewealthshow.com is our website, passivewealthshow.com. And we have the free course that I mentioned earlier on investing into real estate funds. Also, there's I forget which page it's on, but there is a Calendly link. If someone wants to schedule a quick little call with me, I'm here to provide value and try and help people. And the business is at a point where I can do that. I have additional time, more time than I've had in a while. So if anybody wants to hop on a call, just go to the website, hop on my Calendly link, and you'll get access to my calendar that way. And any way I can help, happy to help, guys. So.
Well, Jim, thank you so much. This has been awesome. And I just truly appreciate that we finally did connect, and thank you for being on the show today.
Thanks, Jen.
Absolutely. And that is all. Thank you for listening, and we will catch you on the next episode. Now go out there and share your badassery. And don't forget, make it a great day. Take care. Bye-bye. Whoop, whoop.
Thank you for listening to RAIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform so you never miss an episode. If you need more badassery, you can follow Jen Josie by visiting therealjenjosie.com or become a member of RAIN by registering on rainmastermind.com.